The market stats for January 2025 came out, and while the media has been all over these numbers and breaking them down basically with the narrative that they want to give, I'm going to give you my key points in 3 minutes or less, and stay tuned for my next video, which will go through each of these points more in depth to give you the factual data. However, for this video, we're going to keep it short and sweet so that you could tell your friends what exactly is happening in the Toronto real estate market. I'm Michael Ouzas. I'm a realtor here in the city of Toronto. If you want to discuss your plans for the spring market, book in a spring strategy session directly with me. Scan the QR code right here or click on that first link in the description down below. Let's jump right into the key takeaways of January of 2025. And as promised, 2 minutes or less. So let's do this. Interest rates came down again at the end of January, where the overnight lending rate went down to 3%. Huge difference from where things started at last year around this time, around that 5%. So we're down about 2% since. It's equaled about 20 to 25% more buying power for buyers. If you do have a variable rate mortgage or a line of credit, this is definitely a benefit to you. We did have some talks about tariffs all month, and I'm sure if you've been following the news, you've been seeing that as well. Bond markets have come down in that time, which has actually brought the fixed rate down from where they were even a month or two ago. So that's a big change, especially for buyers looking to get pre-approved. You're going to be looking most likely pre-approvals on the fixed side. That's where that change will play a factor for you. Next up, it's important to note that 70% of all transactions in January happened from January 13th to the end of the month. What that tells me is that most buyers after the holidays started getting back into the market. In fact, 50% of all the transactions that happened in the month of January were actually condos. So don't believe everything out there saying that condos are dead. Condos are still transacting. In the next video, I'm going to discuss which ones are selling and what that looks like if you are looking to get into the condo market. Another key takeaway from January is that active listings were way up from where they were a year ago. That being said, there are a lot of tired listings that have carried over from November and December into the month of January. I found that this year we didn't see as many of those options terminate for the holidays and come back. They just left those listings hang out through the holiday season. What I will say is that most buyers have already seen those listings. And if buyers are already out there now, they've most likely gone through those listings at some point, which tells us that price, presentation, and marketing may be a little bit off for what's currently out there. So super important to note that when you are looking at the active listings, there are a good amount on the market. And I will say firsthand, a lot of them need a ton of work. So just something to consider when it talks about how many active listings are out there. And if we are talking about the city of Toronto, definitely a different story from the greater Toronto area, which is what the media is talking about in all these articles. The last major key takeaway is that in the second half of January, offer dates came back with a vengeance. I saw 16 offers, 11 offers, 10 offers, 9 offers, you name it, on the best properties in the best areas that are priced aggressively low. We will continue to see this in those areas like we always do. But this year I have noticed that the demand is definitely back for those properties because they're just don't come up too often. So we have been seeing offer dates and we're seeing properties sell for much more than the asking price if they're in those desirable pockets, in those desirable areas. Last up, our months of inventory check. And if you've been watching this channel, you know why that is so important. Detached, we're at 4.13. So still pretty balanced across the board for detached. But again, a lot of those properties need multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of renovations, which is why many of them are sitting. Semi-detached, 2 months of inventory. This is going to continue to shrink as we go forward. In the best pockets, if we think Roncy, Bloor West, Leslieville, and Riverdale, we have basically less than a month or 1 month of inventory in those pockets. They're all getting multiple offers on offer date. If we look at townhouses, which is also factored in with row houses, 3.35 months of inventory, up from December, but overall still very much in more of a seller territory. And I anticipate we're going to see that continue as the semi-detached properties start taking off here in the spring market. And for condos, 6 months of inventory, still very much a buyer's market. However, we are noticing kind of the tale of three condos right now. You have the bigger size units, which are still getting attention. You have the smaller size units, which are more for maybe an investor. They're not exactly the most functional, best layouts. And you have the end user condos, which now we're starting to see are moving in kind of every $50,000 price increment. There's those 5 to 10 or 15 condos that are standouts, and those are the ones that are selling. Again, condos made up 50% of all transactions in January 2025. There you have it, the stats in 2 minutes or less. Definitely more than that, of course, as always, but just wanted to give you an update what we've been seeing. Stay tuned for the next video because it will be more in depth on all of those categories. So if you are a buyer or a seller looking to make a move in this market and you need some ideas when it comes to strategy, the next video will discuss some of those more in depth to give you a good idea going into the spring. And by the way, I will say spring market does feel like it's come a little bit early, even though we're getting snow outside. I'm Michael Ouzas. Thanks for watching.